Our final guest is Stephanie Sorensen, a midwife and author of Doula, A Story of Birth. The book shares stories of parents from around the world who escape dangerous places before bringing a new life into the world. She joins us now to tell us more. Stephanie, thanks for joining us. And first, just kind of wondering, what led you to become a midwife?
I was interested in alternatives, homeopathy, things like that. And then when we started our family, our first son was born naturally. The doctor never made it to the birthing room. And we went home the same day. And I thought, oh, this is great. You know, we can do this. When we found out 2 years later we were expecting twins, the protocols in the hospitals in Minneapolis and Wisconsin at that time wouldn't let us have a natural birth. We had to prepare for a C-section. And if all the doctors were that scared of us, I didn't want them. So I called some friends of mine in Tennessee who have a midwifery school, actually the first freestanding midwifery clinic in the country. I don't know if you've heard of Ina May Gaskin. She pioneered midwifery in the 70s. And when we found out we were having twins, I called her and I said, I can't get anyone not to be afraid of this. And she said, oh, well, you should come down here and we'll have babies. And we had a beautiful birth. I spent the summer. I needed bed rest. And they were both over 7 pounds. They were really, really healthy. We had 13 midwives. And I was sold. I wanted to do that. It was really, really nice.
And just what is the difference between a midwife and a doula?
A midwife in this country and in England and Canada, there are several levels. But if you want to be a licensed midwife, you need to train it and learn medical care. And that can be up to 4 years, the equivalent of a master's degree. And before all this was in place in the year 2000, I got in through Texas. We didn't have any path to do this in Minnesota. So I went to Texas. I received a Bush Fellowship grant to do this. I wrote a paper about the needs in the Hutterite and Amish communities in particular. And rural health, one hospital a day was closing in Minnesota. So this was really catastrophic. And we needed more people who were willing to go out. So I went to Texas and trained and sat the state boards and passed on my first try.
Well, and how did you decide to share these experiences through writing a book?
I had worked in the Hmong community. I speak Hmong, and I was very interested in what they were trying to do here, trying to pull their families back together after a terrible war. I got to know them. Some of them were interested in home birth. Others were not good candidates for home birth, so I talked them into a hospital birth that I would accompany them to. And that worked really well for several years. We lived in England, we lived on the East Coast, we've traveled quite a bit. When we came back to Minneapolis, I think it was about 2002, all of a sudden the entire country looked like Mogadishu. And I wanted to know, who are these people and what's going on? So I started working in the Somali neighborhood, and I would receive referrals from the different insurance companies like UCare, asking for additional help for families with high-risk pregnancies. So I would take them, I would be with them sometimes a whole year before the birth and after, and help them navigate our impossible medical system.
And just what do you hope people take away from this book here?
I think the premise for all 4 of my books, the underlying feeling is that it's very, very important to me that we approach other cultures with humility and respect. I think America is on the top of the list for arrogance and not stopping to say, well, what do you think this is? Or how would you handle this? And how can we do this together and make this a good experience for you?
And where can people find the book if they're interested?
Barnes & Noble carries it, most of the individual stores, and it's on Amazon. And the Anoka Library just had an author day, and I sold quite a few there.
All right, that's great. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.